Hey everyone, Sudhu here with even more opinions about Wheel of Time and Eye of the World. I have read the next 5 chapters and I have some things to say about it. Mainly, why is Matt such a knucklehead? I mean, he's getting annoying to the point of a caricature. He's like Bart Simpson. What's wrong with this man? So, he does tend to get people into trouble, doesn't he? I can sense a pattern forming here. He's not that bad, but seriously. So, I've read next 5 chapters. Things that I not expect to happen. Number 1, Nynaeve, and I can finally pronounce her name correctly, showed up at the inn when they were hiding. Well, not hiding, but staying. That's one thing. Thing number 2, I did not expect the actual declaration of Marine's powers to be as they were. The whole thing with her growing so giant that she could step over the walls of the giant walled city. That was strange. A bit. What else did I not expect? I did not expect them going away from the city so soon. I expected more interaction with the white cloaks in the city. And speaking of white cloaks, that's a thing that I actually liked. I think it's once again one of those things that Robert Jordan does well. But since this is my first book, I don't know how much that is true. But just like with small communities being bigoted and that sort of thing being a very universal, very relatable theme, here we have these white cloaks, religious zealots. But I don't have a sense that they're cartoonishly evil, or not even evil, just done in a way that paints a religion or a religious order in this very heavy caricature, delusional, illogical group. I don't find a lot about them in the book so far, but the way it was written, I could see that they have something very familiar to them. They're like very particular religious denomination. Doesn't matter which one. It could be Christianity, Islam, anything at all. But what is universal is that they believe that they are the ones who know right from wrong. They are the arbiters of what's right and wrong. And no one is above them. Everyone else is just clueless children, and they are the ones who are in the light. They are the ones who are in the know. They are the ones who know better. And that was very relatable. But I still don't know why do they dislike Aes Sedai so much, because they claim to be followers of the light and they oppose dark friends, which will never not be funny. That's a very silly term. I'm sorry. Even for someone who has read a lot of fantasy, a lot of pulpy stuff, which I don't think this is pulpy at all. I think this is a very deliberate, very classical fantasy, but dark friends. I mean, if they were dark fiends, dark something, anything, but dark friends, it's just dark sympathy. I'm sorry, it's too silly. But I do not know why do they still dislike Aes Sedai so much. And also, I don't understand why are they allowed so much freedom. From what I read is, yes, their movement is limited within the city, and the governor of the city allows just a very small amount of them in the city itself. But they also apparently have this huge camp, because they, at one point when they catch up to our heroes, they threaten them. They say that they will take them to their camp and question them there. And how are these people so powerful if they're so disliked? They have this huge camp outside of the city and no one's doing anything about it. I mean, that's just a bit, I don't know, maybe it will probably be cleared up in the future installments and or chapters. But yeah, that was kind of question inducing. Also, like some of the small character quirks that seem to kind of rise up, like Egwene doing half of her hair in a traditional style of the women from her hometown, braided, and half of it unbraided, as if wanting to please both women she looks up to, admires. It's like we have Nynaeve, which one of the things that confused me about her name is, because I know Neve is a Irish name, and I heard it before, but Nynaeve, maybe I'm just ignorant, but yeah, but I finally know how to pronounce it. So she has Nynaeve, who was and still is to an extent her role model in her village. She wanted to become wisdom until she met Moraine. Now, Moraine is this another very strong, very influential figure in her life, and she wants to impress both, and on some level she wants them to, both of these women, for Moraine and Nynaeve to get along, but they're so opposed. They're such different characters. They're such strong personalities. It's like Nynaeve is this very impulsive, very strong-willed, very I wouldn't say emotional, that's kind of reductive. She has these outbursts of emotion. She's this very, I'm using the word very much, very, very much, very, what are even the words now? And on the other hand, you have Moraine, which she is this a bit distant, still a passionate person, still a person who obviously feels emotions, but very, as if she's lived such a long life that it's like, even though she appears young, everyone else is children to her. And Egwene is kind of torn between these two women, because as we find out, Nynaeve comes to the tavern where they at, and she reveals to them that the guys, so Matt, Perrin, Rand, and Egwene need to come back home because Moraine has kidnapped them and stop this foolishness and so on and so on. But she, unsurprisingly, this did not surprise me, gets entangled with the whole thing. And she runs off with them. Not intentionally, but she makes a vow that she will get them back to their village one way or another. So, and she wants to keep them safe. So she has to follow them on their road, on their journey. She will do so. And then we have an appearance of the Half-Man, what was his name? Oh, the not Nazgul fella. What was his name? I don't think we find out his name. Whatever. And Afade, yes, that's not his name. Afade is what he is. Afade is a not Nazgul. Totally not Nazgul, I swear. And Rand is confronted with this not Nazgul figure, and they all have to run away from the city. Shenanigans ensue. They're out of the city. Moraine does her magic trick. La-di-da. They're running. And then one of the things that kind of Robert Jordan starts dropping on us, like at one point they're running away from the Trollocs and the Fades. A Fade. Later they have several Fades after them. But the point is, she sends the warder, whatever he is, Moraine sends her partner to scout. Now, and then she says something quietly to herself, "Go forth, the last king of something something." And that was kind of a bit on the nose as well, because the way it was written, it's like, someone will definitely hear this. And Ren heard that, and he wonders, who could that be? Who might that be? And the Gleeman heard it, and the Nynaeve heard it, and of course it's this whole thing of retreading. Yes, we all heard this. Yes, this mysterious title that she gave him when she thought that there is a possibility that he would not get back, and this and that. And it just... Oh yeah, Lan. I'm sorry. Yeah, I remembered his name. Lan, the totally not Aragorn person. Because when she said this title, it kind of lit a few light bulbs in my head, a few of those that I have left. So yeah, actually the whole battle section, when they're facing off against their pursuers that consist of Murdrolls, which are these not Nazguls, the Fades. That was actually really engaging, really exciting. I enjoyed that a lot. And well, again, they get back to no, that's not true. There's also this one trope that happens here that I actually like. I'm rarely tired of this trope. So, you know how when there is a group and someone's chasing them and they think they know their options. It's like, we can escape through this path. It will be dangerous, but it will be tight and we can probably make it. And then another person in the group will say, but what about this? And the first person will be like, no, we do not say the name of this place. We cannot go through there. This is a mistake. No. And it was like almost, I'm being too unkind, but it's like, oh no, not the path of the dead. Not just, no, we cannot. We still have this option. And then inevitably, because this is like a Chekhov's gun, it's set up that, oh, this path that we wanted to take is not an option anymore. And the only thing we can do to survive, because we're so desperate, is to take this very dangerous path that we know is hardly any better than just stopping there and being slaughtered by not orcs. But I actually don't mind this trope, because usually the places they go through, the paths they take, are actually always cool. At least I thought so. Like I said in Lord of the Rings, Paths of the Dead. It's one of the coolest sections of the Return of the King. What else? Oh yeah, they go through they go to visit this city that used to be this whole nation city, and again, Matt gets them in trouble. Well, not again, but it's one of the major instances when he does. And Matt, why are you such a wool-headed dude? One of the things I actually like is when the fictional lexicon of the book creeps up into my everyday vocabulary, because that means that the book is getting to me, that I'm paying attention, that it is holding my attention. I'm enjoying it to the level that I'm incorporating phrases from it into my speech. That's great. Now, blood and ashes, yeah, that's okay. But things like someone being wool-headed as a stand-in for someone being just dense and not thinking and just being a Bart Simpson, Matt, why are you the way you are like this? I think that's cool. And that would be it. As I said prior to this, I try not to make this a recap, because I know this is a very popular book. This is not a review, this is not a recap. I'm just putting out my thoughts because I think this is a blind spot when it comes to my fantasy career as a fantasy reader. I've read most of the major series growing up, but unfortunately Wheel of Time was never translated from what I remember in my library. I read a lot of classic fantasy translated because my library did not offer books in English, and English is my third language or second. Yeah, I guess so. I should know this. I'm a translator. Anyway, so yeah, it was not. I read classic stuff like Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn by Ted Williams. Of course, Lord of the Rings, Dragon Riders of Bern. A lot of 80s, early 90s, late 70s stuff, which I really loved, but for whatever reason, there were no Croatian translations for Wheel of Time. So I finally bit the bullet and I made a decision. I have to read this because I cannot call myself a fantasy lover, fan, whatever you want to call it, if I at least didn't give Wheel of Time a chance. And part of me is actually sad that I didn't get to experience Wheel of Time at the peak of my readership. I guess during my formative years, when I was neck deep into fantasy, when I was rereading stuff. And I think it would be right up my alley, because back at that point, I would give books a chance with zero research. Like, I think everyone can relate to this. You go to the library, to the fantasy section, you see a cover that interests you, a title, or a new book that you didn't notice before. You put very little effort in it. You take it home and you read it. You like it or you don't like it. Usually you like it. And usually it's because you're not that sensitive to cliches and tropes at that point in your life. Which I'm not saying that Wheel of Time is super cliched. I don't think it is. It's just it has been so influential from what I hear at least, and from what I read, because I can see a lot of stuff that I read, even the things that were published in early 2000s, that clearly took a lot of inspiration from Wheel of Time. So I can see bits and pieces of it here. If not in the prose, in the way some of the things are structured, the way Robert Jordan handles his prose, things like that. So thanks for watching and see you next time. This is Silvio signing off. Bye.